Hi everyone and welcome. This is Mindy Egan for lawnfawn, and in today's video I'm going to be adding depth and dimension to my die cuts by starting with colored cardstock to create this sweet Mother's Day card. The set that I'm going to be using is the Terrific Tulips. So I did a bunch of die cutting off screen. I did two sets of each color. So I have Ballet Slippers, Sticky Note, and Lilac cardstock, all from Lawn Fawn. And then I have the stems and the leaves already die cut out from algae cardstock. Now I can begin my ink blending. So I am going to be ink blending each individual die cut piece. For the Ballet Slippers cardstock, I'm going to be using bubblegum ink and a small blending brush. The small blending brush is going to help me really kind of focus on the outer edges, and this is going to add kind of a highlight to the center of each of the petals. I'm going to go around all of the edges of the petals except for the petal that's going to go in the center. That one I just do a little bit on the side and then really on the top because that's the only piece that is going to be shown. Now I'm going to step that up just a little bit. I wanted the edges to be just a little bit more intensified. So I'm bringing in guava ink and I'm going to go around all of those edges once again. It kind of seems like an extra step that I don't need to do, but it really doesn't take that long when you have these smaller die cut pieces and a small blending brush. And if you really wanted to show off that highlight in the center, you could bring in an even darker red, and that would just really make that center highlight pop. For the die cuts that I have from the lilac cardstock, which is a beautiful purple, by the way, I'm going to be using grape jelly, just repeating the same thing that I did for the pink tulips. And for this one, if you wanted to step this up even more, I would say even a darker shade of purple or even a dark blue, which I think would look absolutely gorgeous. Then for the tulips, die cut out of the sticky note cardstock, which is really just a nice, really light yellow. I'm going around the edges with a number two pencil. And for this one, if you wanted to step it up even further, you could even come in with maybe like crunchy leaf, a light brown to help kind of intensify those edges. For the leaves and stems, I'm really only going to be adding the ink blending to the leaves. For this one, I did rainforest, which is a pretty intense color on the algae, but it looks really pretty. Now, I didn't realize at first how intense it was going to be. So I came in a little strong, and to kind of dial that back a little bit, I just went with a lighter touch. So I'm not putting as much pressure on the brush to the cardstock as I normally would. To create a background for my tulips, I have a piece of 80-pound white cardstock cut to 4¼ by 5½, and I added some repositionable tape to the back to secure it down to my work surface temporarily. Now I'm bringing in the slimline grassy stencil, and I'm going to line that up kind of about halfway up my card. I'm going to be creating a landscape card. And I secured the stencil down with the hedgehogs washi tape. I love using my cute washi tape to hold my stencils down. And I'm coming in with celery ink. So I started off kind of light-handed, just really brushing on that color. You can see it fades off a little bit as I get down towards the bottom. And that is really pretty as is, but I wanted to add another layer of grass down towards the bottom. So I'm going to shift my stencil down a little bit. And I'm using the grid lines on the stencil and matching it up with the grid lines on my work surface. So as long as my cardstock is lined up straight, I should be able to just line up both of those grid lines to get my stencil straight. And then I brought in that celery ink once again, just kind of went over it a little bit heavier handed, so just applying more pressure. And then I'm going to top it off with jalapeno just at the very tippy top edges of the grass. So after I kind of removed the stencil and wiped up my work surface a little bit, I'm going to add some blue to the sky. And for this, I am using merman ink. I'm just really lightly going over it, kind of scattered. I don't do an entire skyline, just kind of adding a little bit of that blue hue to it. Now my background is ready. I am going to work on the assembly of my tulips. And now some of my tulips I did more of an open tulip and some of them I made more of a closed up tulip. So you can really have fun with this and kind of customize how you want your tulips to be. If you want it to be more open, just spread those two outer petals out a little bit more. And if you want it more closed off, just bring them into the center a little bit further. So I'm just using my liquid glue to attach all of the petals, and I just kind of switch it up, like maybe one purple will be more open and the other purple one will be more closed off. So I will give myself some options. I don't end up using all of my tulips today, but I'm going to stick them into the packaging with my die set so that I have them for future projects. One of my favorite things about this die set, other than their tulips, which is one of my favorite flowers, is that on the stem is that piece that you can add the die cut tulip to. And it's a big piece, so it's going to provide a lot of stability behind your tulip and just gives you a little bit more room to attach it to instead of just a thin strip of cardstock. Also, with the stems, we have one that kind of swoops over to the left and one that kind of swoops over to the right. So I did one of each color. So I have the pink, purple, and yellow swooping to the right. And then I did the pink, yellow, and purple again swooping to the left. So again, I just gave myself some options. I thought about using all of the tulips on this card front, but it got to be just a little bit too full, and I didn't want that to take away from the actual sentiment. So I decided to go with just three, one in each color. And right now I'm attaching these stems. So I'm kind of playing with what I want the arrangement to look like, and then kind of adding the stems where I feel they look best. Once I kind of land on an arrangement, I'm going to make this all one piece. So I'm just adding a little bit of liquid glue where the tulips are going to overlap, and then I'm going to attach those together. So this is going to help when I go to stamp my sentiment. I won't have three different flowers to move around. I'll just have one all die cut piece. This floral arrangement really could be used for any occasion, whether it's a Hello Spring or a Get Well card or birthday card. But I thought that using it as a Mother's Day card or even just a card to brighten your mom's day would be really nice. So I am using the Scripty Mom die and I die cut it from white cardstock 3 times and I layered it together with liquid glue. I brought my ink blended panel and my tulips and sentiments over to my Misty, and I'm just lining everything up where I want it to go so that I can stamp an additional sentiment down towards the bottom. And this sentiment is customizable. It comes from the Henry's Build a Sentiment Punny Bunny Puns. So I picked out something that worked really well for my mom's sentiment, and this says, "You're special to me." So it doesn't really have to be Mother's Day. It's going to work for Mother's Day, but it's also something that I think would brighten up her day. So I stamped that in the black licorice ink, and then I'm going to add my bouquet using some liquid glue. I was going to add some foam squares at first, but I knew that I wanted to overlap the scripty mom over the flowers. And instead of fussing with trying to make everything flush, it was just easier to add the liquid glue. And then I can have the liquid glue on the back of the scripty mom, center that over the top of my stamped sentiment, and so it's kind of overlapping the leaves a little bit. I thought it needed a little something up in that top right-hand corner, so I am using the butterfly border. There is a single butterfly set in there. I die cut the base of the butterfly from just white cardstock, the outline for the wings out of gold metallic cardstock, and then the body for the butterfly I did out of black glitter cardstock. And I'm adding that with the liquid glue in that top corner because we have to have butterflies if we're gonna have flowers. Then to add just a little bit of sparkle to the front of the card, I am adding some unicorn stickles into the area of the wings. And there is my finished card project. I love how simple this was to do. It was pretty quick. I have lots of extra tulips left over for future cards, and this is definitely going to brighten someone's day. Thank you all so much for spending time with me today, and have an amazing day.